I was going to save this for a little bit later in the program, but it fits so well into what we're talking about here. This is a clip of a panel from a bunch of conservative commentators, Ben Shapiro and the whole Daily Wire crew, talking about abortion. And specifically here, Candace Owens says that there was, quote, no abortion happening when we had slaves. This fits in nicely to our conversation. So let's play a little bit of that.
My favorite is on abortion, where you'll see them say things like Ayanna Pressley said this today, the Democratic congresswoman from Massachusetts. She said today, you know, the real problem with banning abortion is it's going to disproportionately harm LGBTQ people. And I thought to myself, I'm going to need a chart on this one. I may not be an expert. I mean, I have 3 kids of my own, but I may not be an expert. I'm fairly certain that this is not primarily going to target gay men and lesbian women.
Amy Schumer, same thing. She came out and gave a statement about this is exactly what the slaveholders wanted. And I was like, I would like a further explanation as to what you are talking about when you make that statement, because there was no abortion happening when we had slaves. Yeah,
so, I mean, to that point, I mean, you were just discussing this, how inextricable and intersectional all of this is, and how reproductive justice is really about women having control, Black women having control over their own bodies, and how so much of this suppression of and stripping of women's rights is really linked to ownership and the perception of ownership over Black bodies by white people and by capitalists.
Right. And, you know, a couple of points to make, too. Of course, you know, I want to say there is absolutely no even though this is a patriarchal strike against women's rights, it is also against other pregnant people. And it is also no accident that that these attacks on abortion access and abortion rights come hand in hand with the most violent assault on trans lives in the last 2 years. Over 200 anti-trans bills passed in red states, denying healthcare, treating the loved ones, loved adults of trans kids as potential abusers in Texas. You know, these sort of bathroom bills, sports bills, they're all about asserting this white patriarchal standing, the white patriarchal familial standing. So that comes part and parcel with, you know, women and pregnant people's bodily autonomy, you know, gender identity, gender nonconformity, trans lives, and indeed racist oppression. So I think, you know, the idea that Shapiro's mocking that this could have, that this would have anything to do with, do I think it is primarily an LGBTQ issue is, you know, that's not the point at all. It's no doubt an anti-woman issue as much as anything, but, you know, trans women can be women indeed. But his laughing at it is so absurd, because I think Ben Shapiro should know as much as anyone how intertwined the control over bodily autonomy and sovereignty is, and why, and hence the attack on trans lives.
He's as pro-natalist as anybody, which is like sorry to cut you off, but he's as pro-natalist as anybody, where it's, you know, part of why being trans is so wrong is because you are not producing to children in the same way, in the natural way as described by him.
Exactly. And, you know, all these, the kind of right-wing agenda is sort of unabashedly, and has been for some time now, this pro-natalist palingenesis, you know, this nationalistic rebirth of this notional nation, this, you know, white, pure, Herrenvolk democracy being established. So, of course, it's across the board in terms of its oppressive reach. And, you know, we do very well to fight it accordingly, which requires across the board solidarity. And certainly, you know, would mean that anyone who doesn't see this as an anti-racist struggle and LGBTQ struggle as well is really going to fail in pushing back and fighting the extent of this fascist ascendancy.
And to Candace Owens's point about how abortion was there was no abortion happening when we had slaves. I mean, it's just.
I mean, there's been abortion as long as there's been birth, right?
Yes.
So, and also, just bringing up, slavery and birth, forced birth as a mode of upholding enslavement as a status and a state of being and an entire underclass of human through forced birth. That is the legacy we have to be keeping in mind here because the agenda right now is same in its ideological underpinning.
Absolutely. And forced birth as a method of control of women, I think, is necessary in order to accurately frame this, because if a woman is forced to give birth, say she's in an abusive partnership, or she just doesn't want to be in that relationship, or it's not the right time, her options are limited severely. And that is the goal of Republicans. It is a way to keep women more chained and tethered to the man and to the patriarchy by limiting their individual options to participate in society.
Absolutely. And obviously, because these laws and these bans will predominantly affect working class people, poor working class people of color, particularly ensuring someone is forced to carry a pregnancy through, or, which includes often, risking their own lives, that is also a way to maintain class stratification, right? Do I think that every single Republican operative is sitting around thinking, "Waha, this is how we maintain white supremacy and class stratification in these exact moves"? No, but it is nonetheless the ideological underpinning and the shape of this pronatalist nationalist agenda.